So they may be included in the law. I believe love God is. I don't believe leave your neighbor is. Is that correct?
Love thy neighbor as yourself is the Old Testament. It's in
Which
Leviticus.
is it? Okay.
Yep.
So
They just type in, love thy neighbor as yourself, Old
uh,
Testament. It'll probably come up. Yep.
okay, no, I'll take your word for it. So
Yep.
what about all the rest of the law? And what does concluded mean? Or fulfill? What does that mean then? Why did he say that, and what's it mean?
That means only God could obey the law without blemish. Only he was sinless because Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh himself came to earth to live the perfect life, to have a relationship. Remember, it says Old Testament and New Match. So it says all things are made by him and for him. So it's all for him. It's for his glory. He loves us. He wants to have a relationship with us, but we actually deserve punishment and judgment. And that's how good he is. He took the punishment for us and he's died for us. So we actually get a free ticket into Shamayim.
Why do we deserve punishment when he made us and the paradigm we live in?
Because we disobeyed. We all disobey. We all fall short of the glory of God.
Why didn't he make us so that we would not fall short?
He made us the way that we wanted to be made.
No, that's bullshit. We can't have a desire if we're not made it.
Me. Well, for you. So we disagree. So he made me the way I wanted to be made exactly perfectly, but you disagree. You don't like the way that he
biblical,
made you.
or why do you believe that?
Well, because he made us in his image.
But you didn't. Well, then that's even more reason why we should not be responsible, because we're perfect if God's perfect and we're made in his image. But regardless, the idea that the idea that you had not been created yet, but that you had a desire about how you want to be made, it's just nonsensical.
Oh, then we can disagree, but we're not debating. But that was what do you want me to do? I mean, I can use the Bible or my opinion. Those are my options, right?
Well, I mean,
you want the Bible only or my opinion?
Give me actually both, because just
okay.
If you have a desire, you're already in existence.
Yes, remember at the beginning it says you can eat from any tree that you want except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? The tree of Doth that brought death into the world.
Okay. Do you take that literally?
It's all literal, baby. Yeah. 6 days, heaven and earth. Yep.
You don't think that maybe this is a not parable, but well, I guess parable for lack of better words, that it's explaining a deeper meaning than just literally these are the trees? It
is. You are not only are you right, you're triple in redundancy, you're right, because there's quadruple and there's so many meanings we can't even know it all. And in fact, you and I will read the exact same line and both come up with multiple meanings, and we can both be right at the same time as long as they don't contradict. And that's how powerful the world is. Men can't even read the Bible, let alone write it.
Why can't men write it?
Because they can't even read it. If I show a man right now what it says, they'll say, oh, that's not really what it means, and they won't believe it.
Yeah, but we're just talking about the telephone game now, right? Because people interpret the same thing differently.
No, if I show it to you, if okay, let's see. Okay, I'm the XO, right? But I'm also a mandated reporter. I'm also Alon Mastah. If you say, where's the XO? And I say, I'm right here. Don't you see me? What am I telling you?
Sorry, say that again.
If you ask, where's the XO, but it doesn't say XO right there, like it just has my Hebrew name or has something else, and I say, I'm right here. Don't you see me? I'm telling you that I'm the XO, right? If I just say, I'm right here, Don't you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, people will deny that and say that's not what Jesus is saying. What Jesus is saying, and then they'll add their own interpretation. What I'm telling you is that the face value meaning is the truth. And there's more than that behind it, as long as we don't deny the face value. Go ahead.
Why is it important to not deny the face value? Jesus spoke in parables. It's safe to assume that a lot of these stories were deeper meanings were also communicated in parables. Why is it important to understand things literally as true?
They are, because both. That's why he says you must be like one of these little children. We must approach unto him like a little baby, the face value of how you'd answer to a child.
That's why I find myself like a gaslight to me.
It's absolutely 100% true. That's why the more immature we are, the more he actually has a better relationship. If we come to him like we have it all figured out, a suit and tie, like we're smart, we know it all, he doesn't like that. He likes us to be humble and to come to him in humility and let him do the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, not us.
So that's a perfect gaslight. You know who else likes that shit? Con artists, scammers, all sorts of people want you to be childlike, naive,
Satan
and
too, and Satan.
easy to
Yep, and
manipulate.
Satan. You're right. Satan and all these evil men want to be God. You're damn right. I agree. Exactly.
So why do you and this is what I was talking about earlier with Cynthia, as my issue is Christianity and a lot of religions, not just Christian, but the idea that being naive and gullible is a virtue for an adult is absurd and destructive.
Well, I came here, I got to this place because I didn't believe anybody else, and I started realizing that the entire world around me lies to me. And I know you actually probably agree, right? You agree that the
Yeah.
world lies, and I've heard you say several times that you don't believe in evolution, so you're on the right track.
Right.
So you're on the right track,
But,
and God actually loves that kind of attitude. I think you'll make a good believer someday, and right now he's just not your cup of tea.
actually, the more I engage in these discussions and debates, I deal with a lot of Christian debate bros and stuff. Like, the more I am convinced that Christianity is in fact psychological cancer. What is it that you think will make me change that course?
It's not going to be me. It's actually something that you have to do to yourself. That's why he says
no, I know.
repent.
I'm not putting that on you at all. I'm just wondering, you sounded confident when you stated that, and I'm wondering if there's a reason.
So the good news is that because we're all so different, the relationship is between you and him. He can send messengers. He can also send a car accident. He can also have a brick off of top of a building hit you in the head. He does all sorts of things that are amazing. And I thank God for the miracles that he has given me. But that's the thing. We all experience different things. As soon as the man tells you, here's how it's going to work, Dusty, you know he's lying. The honest man says, I have no idea what he's going to do for you. But for me, he's given me countless miracles, and I'm embarrassed for it because I don't deserve them.
Why do you think you don't deserve them? God gave it.
Because I'm a terrible sinner.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You're demonstrating right now.
I know.
If you're made in God's image, and if God created everything and is all powerful and all knowing, then to say that you're a terrible sinner and you don't deserve these is basically to shit talk God, because
the image comes from the different levels, right? We're at the level that we can actually have a relationship with him. We're not robots. He wants to reciprocate with us, right? Like when you were growing up as a child and your dad told you to do something, or your mother or another family member, and you didn't listen, but you knew you were doing wrong and you learned from it. I'm just giving examples here. I don't have to explain this to you. You already know this. You're a smart person. And we understand that we have real relationships with our loved ones in different ways that we can't even understand. Why do you have you ever had like a dog that was really mean, but you loved it? Or
I've never had a dog at all.
Oh, well, you have a cat, right?
Yeah.
Are they super nice floppies, or do you have any mean streaks in them or anything?
Yeah, no, they one of them is really nice. One of them is sort of mean nice.
Don't you kind of like the one that's mean sometimes for his or her personality? I think the mean streaks are kind of cool, and
they're all right.
Got cats too.
I yell at them a lot.
Well, don't ask Pete. Remember the other day when we first met, and I brought up the movie Predator, right? Like, why do men love these horrible horror movies that involve death, right? Right. It's one of the greatest of all time. I'm probably about 5 years older than you. I'm about 43. What are you?
38.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. We grew up watching that stuff in the 80s and 90s when we shouldn't have, but it like molded us. And we see special forces getting killed in the jungle, and one by one. It's the coolest thing because it's scary, it's frightening. Why do we love that? Why is that so badass? So there's something about us that God makes us. He wants us to enjoy the risk and the fear, and there's a reciprocation about that. Like, he wants some of his boys to be warriors. He wants some of his children to be different, right? He wants warriors, but he also wants, kind people. And there's things that we just can't understand. But just the fact that the most popular things in society are death, and things I can't say right now because I don't know what the new list is going to be next week on, your channel will be taken down if they hear this word. But all the things that are popular, forensic files and true crime, the most popular things in media and television and of course the internet are all death. Why is that? But when God does it and shows it to us in the Bible or something, then we say, oh, how dare you, God? I find it ironic.
It is interesting. I think it speaks to the fact that we've all got many sides to us, including a dark side, the shadow side, whatever. or sin, if
Exactly.
you want
And
to call
even
it that.
women love it. You know, women
Women
are literally,
especially,
they're secretly,
especially,
yeah, they secretly love crime shows and death and destruction. They
and
just won't
all
admit it. You
women
know,
love to be choked during
what's the
sex.
stupid movie called? That's with a Twilight series with the necromancy and, you know, werewolves and vampires, and they love all that stuff. Then it happens in the Bible. Oh, God is so mean, but you're paying $9.95 a month to watch it on Netflix. What's going on here?
But I mean, because we've got conflicting message. Where the Bible, Christianity teaches. I mean, I guess the Bible doesn't specify, but Christianity presents death as bad, right? Eternal life. Jesus apparently died, but he's alive again somehow, which means he didn't really die. He just took a nap. Either way, it's presented
Maybe.
as something that's bad. However, if we look around us, right, without try to take off the programming and look at the world around you, uh, ain't nothing about the world that would make you think that God has any issue with death at all, because everything dies, and and life feeds on life. So the character of God that can be taken away through observation of reality with the senses and experiences that God apparently gave you, these speak of a very different creator than Jesus.
Well, his thoughts are above our thoughts, and that's just gonna right. That's gonna be gaslighting, right? We can't
It is
understand him, right?
gaslighting.
But
You know it's
but
absolutely gaslighting.
isn't it way more interesting that God did give us all these abilities to make bad things cool and to make good things boring, and for us to actually have to adjust ourselves? If we just get pleasure all day, what happens? We turn to these psychopaths, you know, that actually literally start turning really weirdo, and they get too much money, and before you know it, they just have hookers and blows for the rest of their life, and they die at the age of 39 because all they did was party. That's not a happy life. The rich people are the most miserable people in the
Wrong.
world. Thank
Get the
God.
fuck. Wait, rich
Yes,
people
they
are like.
are.
Did you say rich people are, or that? Okay,
Oh
if you
yeah,
say,
the rich
yeah,
people
yeah,
are the
okay,
most rich
I
people
actually,
are absolutely
yeah,
insane.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, and this is backed up by psychology. Studies show consistently
Hmm.
that human well-being is maximized when we are not when we've achieved a goal or when we're lounging around,
Hmm.
but when we are making progress on a goal that matters to us. So,
Right.
like,
There's one
like
word.
right,
What about the one word is a gift though? It starts with a W. It's a huge gift.
weapons,
No,
women.
work. The
Oh,
ability to
work.
work. Yes, there.
Right.
That's the number one gift. Yeah, God saved best for last. Thanks,
Right.
Lord. So working is the greatest gift, in my opinion. The fact that we can
So,
work and earn, and I'm talking about like a farm style life. You know, a life that we used to live where we raised animals, plants. We had to, you know, do things. We didn't work these new age jobs that
the
are trash.
the
The way that we were
important thing is
designed to work was obviously a phenomenal miracle. Go ahead.
the important thing is that it's something you care about, right? So in order to be at our mental best, we need to have problems, right? Problems are integral to our happiness. The concept of heaven is absurd. It sounds
Amen.
like hell to me. Perfection sounds miserable.
Oh, in this world, we do need some problem. Well, I thank God that there's problems. I thank God that there's bad guys, and I especially thank God for atheists and really stupid Christians, or I'd be without a job. Power Dusty. I got to be honest with
So,
you. I would have nothing if everybody else
are
didn't
you a
literally just
pastor or
have their head
something?
up their ass. Go ahead.
Are you a
I'm just
preacher or
the
something?
ex. So I am a preacher. Yes, you can
I
definitely
mean,
call. I'm a
is that
Bible
you said
teacher.
you'd be out of a
Yes.
job? Is that your revenue source?
Yes. No, that's not what I get paid for. I do this for absolutely the love of my Lord and Savior. Yeah, but
Mm.
that's my most important thing
So,
is you know teaching all men the gospel. Go ahead.
so with that in mind, why are you, I guess you, not me, focused on having a world, or assist a heaven without problems? Why are bad things viewed as bad and against God's wishes if you understand that we and agree that we need problems to solve in order to be happy and healthy?
Well, it said that there was a war in heaven, and I can imagine that there are different levels of understanding. That's why he says, "My thoughts are above your
Right.
thoughts, just
keep
as
keep
heaven is
talking, I can
above
hear
earth."
you. I just need to let this annoying
Okay,
cat out the door,
no
but I
problem.
can hear you.
No problem. Okay. In Isaiah, and the Bible makes it very clear, and as his thoughts are above our thoughts, so is heaven above earth. So that means heaven is not only a different level of understanding, it's a whole different level of life and purpose. There isn't going to be the disgusting things that we have here. There might still be wars, there might still be jobs, there might be, in fact, there's some extravagant creatures even explained in the Bible. There's some literally levels of beings, and there's work done. It even says that we're going to be judges. So actually, it's not over. It's not like we're just going to be up there on the clouds playing a harp, like they used to think, 100 years ago. That's not reality. The reality is, this is almost like a boot camp. I think the Soundgarden song "Boot Camp" is what gave me that idea. 1996. Bless you, Chris Cornell. Thanks for giving me my influence. And God has all things for his purpose. So just like he created all the things here, he also influenced the musicians. He also influenced our styles. Everything here is actually designed by him in a sense. Our hands are the reason
you don't know any
you
of
ever look
that.
at a car?
You don't know any of that.
Yeah. So I'll die on it. I'll put everything I have on it right now. Everything he made for a reason. He designed us in this fashion so that everything is built around this purpose, this system. This is temporary. I'm telling you, my point is that there's a much better next level existence after this one.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because of the relationship that I have with him, for one, and number two, the miracles and the confirmation that he has given me through those reciprocation events.
So, a personal experience,
right? Remember when I first met you a few weeks ago, and I said I gave a prayer. The next day, he showed me what I asked for. I showed you the chemtrail plane. Remember?
What if you showed it to yourself because you're in more control than you think you are?
So you think I manifested the airplane to fly by the window? Just it happened 1 out of 1,000 flights that I've taken.
Are you made in his image?
Oh, I am, yeah, and I have a special relationship with him. Remember, I've obviously prayed for things that haven't come true, but I honestly, to be honest, I think it was 10th man that was mad at me because I prayed for something so ridiculous, and I agreed with him. How dare me pray to see a chemtrail plane on my flight at 40,000 feet when I pick up, my car from Arizona, and he's right. What a ridiculous prayer, yet God gave it to me. And what happens? So God answers our prayers, and we're never thankful. Go ahead.
So the fact that you saw a plane with a chemtrail is very uneventful. That'd be like, God, let me. If you're really there, then tomorrow when I go outside, let there be a dandelion.
No, that's not what happened. It was on the flight. Can I see one up close? Can I see it up close? Okay, and he allowed me to see it.
I forgot. Yeah. So again, but my point is that this is open to this is open to interpretation. It's not a relationship with God if he's not like the idea that God.
That's just one example of a million. I know. That's just one example, though. You're killing me.
The idea that we have a relationship with God and that it's somehow our duty to meet him. Do you have kids?
Yes.
And would you ever think that? Would you ever like? If you had knocked your wife up and then left, would it be your kid's fault or responsibility to find you? I left a note when she was pregnant.
No, we're not comparable to God. Remember, I don't think that's a non sequitur.
Well, then, so, if we're not comparable to God, but we're created in His image, if we can't understand these things, then why are we trying to understand these things and compare them? I'm
not. Are you?
You are. You said you have a relationship with God. And
of course I do, but I even told you that I can't understand him. I told you I gave up my own understanding.
What is the nature of your relationship?
Well, nature means design. The relationship means he says to do something and I say yes, and he found me. I finally just let him in. He was knocking at my door for a while. I don't know what to tell you. We're all different. We're not going to experience the same thing, like I told you. So I finally said yes to him 15 years ago after ignoring him. And after I found out he was real, Dusty, I actually continued to not do what he said for 5 years. And he actually then took everything out of my life and forced me to listen to him. And I finally said, okay, Lord. So I don't know why. I can't tell you. I don't know why God does things that way, Dusty. I can't.
So do you see how we basically have, if you were listening earlier, we basically have similar stories where our lives change courses, but we're attributing them to different things. It's because it's not obvious and it's entirely subjective. I could attribute my experience to God. It seemed, but it's a cop off because actually I don't know. And if God wanted me to know, I assume that he would make it so that I knew, right?
Yes, but some people go all the way to their deathbed, and when they're 79 years old and dying of cancer, they switch up right at the last second, and they are saved just as much as I'm saved.
Sure, if that's true. What also could be the case You've seen them get saved and be in heaven?
My father. No, I'm telling you
Right.
that some men will turn their lives and repent
Correct.
on their deathbed very often. That's
I'm
all I'm
sure
saying is
that
that I know better than them.
I guarantee. No, I have no doubt about that. Dying is probably a terrifying prospect. I have no doubt that people will cling to whatever psychological thing they can get a hold of, and that frequently includes religious belief.
Okay.
But
You mentioned blacking out, right?
Sure.
Have you ever had visions of the next world? You ever seen heaven or hell? I have. Not heaven, but hell.
No.
So the reason I'm so motivated, you can see I'm an extremist, is because he showed me hell 3 times. Showed me
Were
hell.
you
3 different
dreaming
levels
or
of hell. What?
Were you asleep? Were you dreaming? What happened?
I died. One of them, I died of alcohol poisoning, we think for maybe an hour. It was a couple months after my father died, so I was drinking every night heavily for weeks, and I finally just basically OD'd and went to that place. And it was realer than this conversation. It frightened me, obviously, to another level. And then I saw a different level of hell about 10 years later. And those are not the only miracles, but those were the ones
No.
that really showed me some
Was
very
it under the
serious,
same circumstances
consequences.
or different ones?
Very different circumstances. One was just randomly 10 years later out of a completely different scenario, actually, after I had a heat stroke. So very different. Yeah.
So one of the things, if you heard me talk about my mom sending me reading material in jail, one of the things that she would do, she got really into at that time. There's a website called nderef.org, I believe, and it's just a catalog. People self-report their near-death experiences, and a frequent phenomenon of near-death experiences is it's not universal, but frequently people do have religious experiences, heaven or hell, guardian angels. The religion. What's noticeable about it is that whatever the person's religion is, their experience, their near-death experience, tends to correlate with the religion they have in their life. So to me, how I interpret that is that we are controlling that component with our belief.
Okay, I would, beg that there's obviously going to be another side to that, since I've studied this for about 15 years, that there are many people of different faiths that all claim that they realize that Jesus was the only truth, that the Christian Bible was the truth, or that there was a hell, the same one that's in the Bible.
That he
So we're
was
just going
the
to,
only truth?
Yes, and there's many better claims than just going
Okay.
to hell. Obviously, I saw the bad side of things, which are, and people would say that they saw God, and God, God bless them for that. But again, we're all very different,
Another commonality is that they respondents claim that after the experience, it says, are you now more or less? I think it actually says religious, more or less religious, and people respond more. And then when asked what their religion is, the overwhelming majority say that they're not an organized religion; they're spiritual. Which I find fascinating. The near-death experiences you've been researching, are they from Christian sources?
Oh, I'm sure they're always from Christian sources, of course.
No. Okay, so
everybody knows. I mean, yeah, of course. I'm
the
biased.
issue.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue.
We're biased. Everybody's biased, of course.
NDE, sure, everybody is, but if you have something like nderef.org, near nderef.org, they aren't. It's not a religious institution. They don't have a religious agenda, so you're going to get a clear.
Oh, they always have. There's always an agenda. There's always an agenda, though.
Sure, for an individual, but for
of course.
Okay, so are you even interested in knowing things objectively?
Yes, I live at the really is level. I'm a mandated reporter. I've had my life threatened. I've been literally kidnapped and taken to jail for reporting crimes against the government. My whole family left me. I can give you a huge sob story. That doesn't matter.
Are you even open to looking at things that would show Christianity isn't true? It sounds like you're perfectly content looking at.
Yes, I love the challenge, Dusty, but you got to realize you're talking to someone that's been doing this for a very long time. I also challenge atheists, and listen, I actually fight more with Christians than anybody. So I actually, I go after people that. Well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is that a lot of them are completely full of themselves and they don't believe the Bible, and they all try to twist it. A lot of them try to pervert it. I actually get along with Jews better half the time because, of course, I take the Old Testament into account just as much as the New Testament. And a lot of New Age Christians and new Christians hate the Old Testament, and it drives me bananas. It's disgusting to me. I think the Old
So
Testament is awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
part of the issue with people who think they know everything, or that are narcissistic, right? If you think you're perfect, you can't improve. If you think you know things, you stop to learn. How is that not the situation with religion at large? All religions, not just
It's
Christianity.
the problem. Yeah, the problem is the man. The problem is the man that says, "Oh, now I'm smarter. Look how good I am," and then they want to be the hero, right? Then they come online and start asking you to send them money, not for what things like you do because you're honest about it, but to charge people to know the Bible. And
Hold on.
every time
You
they
should
do it,
do a
Dusty,
grift for me. Do
you
a
know
grift
they're
for me.
lying. Go ahead.
Tell people to send me
Well,
money. Do a grift for me.
okay, well, I guess it's 10:48 over here, west of the Rockies, northern part of Seattle, Washington, and you are listening to the Flow State. That's right, state
Powder
of the
Dusty now.
art,
We're on Powder
entertainment.
Dusty. Powder
Powder
Dusty.
Dusty, excuse me. This is the XO of the RO, and you're listening to the most in-depth spiritual conversation you've heard in 2024. Welcome to the end of the internet. Send your money to the Power Dusty because I'm a real Christian and I can't get a dime for what I do. Baruch Hashem Adonai Elohim. Thanks for playing.
Hi, how are you doing? I would just like to point out that you're also on the Caucasian Sasquatch
Oh,
because I really like the conversation. I like where this is going. And I shut down everything backstage to let y'all cook. So continue, please.
right on. We're cooking. Oops. Let me get you down. All right. Nicely done. Fuck. Where was I
I'm a
now?
little rusty. Go ahead.
So, so my point is that, like, and you probably won't agree when I say this, but we, humanity, don't actually know what happens after death. We don't know where we came from. Whether actually, especially if you believe in a creator God, then it would also follow that that is how it should be. We should actually not know what happens after death, for this life, for the purpose of this lifetime, because God didn't give us that knowledge, right?
Yeah, he can't give it all to us because we would just abuse the hell out of that like we abuse everything.
It doesn't matter why. We can't know why either. But do you agree that God created us this way in this paradigm, and intentionally we are not supposed to know what happens after death?
Yes, that you got. You are correct.
Okay, so with that in mind, wouldn't Christianity or all religions that make the claim be necessarily wrong?
That's why Jesus spoke of hell much more than he spoke of heaven. So what you're right about is the fact that we have no idea what it's going to be like to be
Mm-hmm.
with our Creator in Shamayim. But that's why he gives us details of where we know we don't want to go. The weeping and gnashing of teeth, the fact that the worm will never
He
die,
didn't
and the
actually
fact that
give
the
us
guy.
that
Can I just
information.
explain it
Yeah,
though? I
go
mean, the
ahead.
guy that's in hell. Okay, the guy that's in hell. It's actually one of the parts of the Bible. The only part of the Bible where a Grand Canyon is mentioned. It's called a mega chasm. And it is called the parable. When it's not really a parable, and I'm just going by memory right now because I don't have a computer. I'm on a device. It's Lazarus and the rich man. And the rich man, a rich man in Sheol is begging for one thing. Guess what it is? Powder Dusty.
A drink of water.
You're right. Actually, he's
Is that
begging
really
for a
it?
man to put. Listen, he's actually begging for a man to put his finger in water so he can touch it. So you still got it correct. A drop
Hmm,
of water is what
pretty
the
good.
rich man in Sheol is begging for. Water. Welcome to Water World. And that's going to matter later the next time we talk. Because again, like I said earlier, out of his belly, well, out of your belly will flow fountains of living water if you believe on him. And water is literally the key to all this. And that's what we overlooked for a very long time. Water is not created or destroyed. You can tell water is actually supernatural once you get into this. Water itself absolutely destroys atheism. It is a miracle. It's the most powerful thing in this creation. You and I abuse it more than anything we've ever abused. We depend on it more than anything we need. And it's above us, it's all around us, it's inside of us, it's in you. We are actually mostly water. We're breathing water. Your car that you start every morning, if you ever start one every morning in the audience, starts and uses water to ignite. It's called oxygen. We live in a water world, and he is the fountain of living waters. The Bible is the only truth. It is literally impossible to understand it, and that's how I know it's of God. If you understand 1% of the Bible, Dusty, that's all you need. 1% of the Bible will change your life and bring you to a relationship to God that you can't deny.
It is impossible to understand it. That's how you know it's true. We're going to come back to that. First, while you were talking about water, this man was backstage flipping the fuck out and agreeing with you. Sasquatch, what's going on?
Water. All right. So when you talk about the biblical concept of water, or even pre-biblical, they speak about the splitting, the tearing, the rending. It speaks about how water devises everything. It's without water, life doesn't exist. God is life. Life is God. The trifecta of reality. No, that's not right. I'm sorry. I've been drinking a bit. Give me a second.
That's all right. Take your time, man.
The trifecta of the spirit, the man, and God is defined in the trifecta of water. Water is one of the very few compounds. Okay, look at it this way. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. It should explode just sitting there with nothing around, nothing happening, nothing causing it to happen. Bam, it explodes. It should. That is the physics of water. Doesn't.
Why should it explode?
Hydrogen and oxygen.
I don't know enough about chemistry to know why that would explode.
Wait, let me finish what I was saying, and it might become clearer. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. The only reason it does not just explode by itself is a covalent bond, a single feature of physics that only exists in a very few circumstances. When you go into like chemistry and all of that stuff, it's a really rare thing for a double covalent bond to exist, for it to stabilize itself in a position that doesn't result in explosion. And these are literally two of the most reactive elements we know of. You put them together and they're not reactive. They put out fires.
I'm with you. That's right.
Wholesome when you drink it. But hydrogen by itself will burn you. Oxygen by itself will decay you. That's absurd.
Yeah, Matthew the King is also correct. Yeah, when it says it in the first line of the Bible.
Chat.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. But because Matthew was saying this is what I just want to put out there before I lose my connection, which might be the next 5 minutes. But the word heaven in Hebrew actually means, Sasquatch, you'll remember this time. Last time I mentioned this to Dusty, he wasn't paying attention, but now he's going to remember this. The word heaven is shamayim. Shamayim means water over there. So the word heaven in Hebrew literally means water there. So when we point at the sky, you ever wonder what they talk about, all this space nonsense, like, we get told by our government, all this stuff? There's waters beyond this creation, and that's probably where God is, because God is outside of creation. Go ahead.
That's a loose interpretation of that, though. That is purity. Purity there. Cleanliness, properness. It doesn't translate.
I'm just telling you what the words mean. Yeah, what the actual words mean.
Water is a good translation. It's not perfect, though. Is it perfect? Is it a perfect translation? Water?
Yes. Specifically the root word is mayim. Do you know what mayim means?
The flow?
Water? No, it means water. Dusty wins again. It means water. So mayim itself, look it up in Hebrew.
I'm winning all.
Go to BibleHub.com. So you're 2 for 2 so far. And once you do 3, man, that's good.
It's
Hold
because
on, sir.
the Holy Spirit told me.
I don't disagree with the interpretation of water. Water does work, but water flows. It is the flow of purity. H2O is the pure source, the flow of purity from the Word of God.
So couldn't it be also be
a little bit of a different interpretation? I'm okay. Southern Baptist.
Before you drop back, for both of you, doesn't it make sense though that if we have a religion that was born out of a tribe in the desert, that makes sense that would be heaven, some water over there, right?
I like your style.
I mean, it's just
preach.
Reasonable, logical.
They give every last dime you have.
Wait, hold on, Sasquatch, watch this. So, Dusty, what did God? So, since Dusty's right now, since he's on a roll, what did God judge the earth with when He judged the entire world and killed everything off 5,000 years ago, according to the Bible?
Well, water.
There you go. So, water is something that we have overlooked.
It was a low pressure system,
right. So, not only did we live in a water world at the very beginning.
Sir, go ahead. Your religion has no basis without humor. Let me tell my jokes. It was a low pressure system, a really big one.
It's all right. Amen. Okay. I just want to point out. So the first 3 days of creation, there was no earth. Earth was pulled out of the water. Day 3, you'll say the evening and the morning were day 3. It says He brought the dry out of the Ma'im. Literally, it doesn't even call it earth. It says He brought the dry land out of the water, and He called it earth. It says Vayikra, and He called it earth. So it was all a water world for a long time. Then it was a water world again when He flooded it. And then in heaven, says water over there, Revelation 22 says there is a crystal clear river of flowing water out of the throne of God and the Lamb. So water continues to be a big part for our lives, even after this world.
Okay. You said that the Bible, we can't understand the Bible. That's how we know it. Why didn't you, is true. Why would you say such a thing instead of just going, we don't understand this? That seems like the end of it.
May I
said 1%. I said 1%. You go ahead, Sasquatch.
All right. What you just said and what Matthew the King said are two sides of the same coin. You're talking about how the great nothing, the void before creation, is described as being waters. That's perfectly accurate. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Describing it as water is a little different. It's referred to as the waters. It's referred to as the flow, that which is, that is not. I know that's insane and absurd. That's the interpretation. Sorry. He makes the statement, Genesis 1, water is in, wait, no, hold on. On day 2, God creates an expanse that separates the waters above from the waters below, with the waters below becoming the seas. Now, that statement, that is a translation of a translation, and it is derived through the King James Version of the Bible. Accepting all of that, right? The nothing below and the nothing above. The purity above and the purity below, and the purity below becomes the waters of the sea. The purity above basically becomes the waters of the outside, which would be essentially space, even a modern interpretation of physics. Both of these things have their own flotsam, jetsam, flow, movement, organization, right? These things, both of these things, defy entropy. When you do the calculations for physics and for entropy, galaxies don't abide by it, the ocean does not abide by it, and life itself refuses to abide by it. Life, and to quote an asshole from Hollywood, finds a way. We are the most tenacious thing under the canopy of God.
Did I pin the link?
I don't think so.
Or did you do this?
I did not. You must have pinned it.
Okay. Well, it's unpinned now.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. All right. So
that was a great way to end that off on Dusty. If you don't mind, I just have to read one thing out of Exodus. Is that okay?
Yeah.
This is the law. So this is Exodus 24.
Go for it.
And it is, you shall not have any graven images of anything of any likeness in the heavens above or the earth beneath or the watchers under the earth. And that is Exodus 20, the law spoken by Yeshua himself. And in fact, at the end of that law, he says, though those that love me keep my commandments. And then he repeats that line in John 14, if you love me, keep my commandments. Again, confirming that Jesus, Yeshua, is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Elohim, creator of the Shamayim and Eretz. Thanks for letting me.
How did you get Jesus out of that at all?
Every part, okay, I'll explain it. Every part of the Old Testament Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is fulfilled and literally by Jesus in the New Testament. So every single feature of God in the Old Testament is then copied and fulfilled by Jesus in the New. Pick one feature out of the Old Testament and I'll find it in the New of Jesus.
No, all I'm asking, that's not what I'm, you made a new claim. What I'm saying is the thing you just read, you said that's how we know Jesus. And I'm saying bullshit.
Hold on. Jesus is new waters that displaces the old waters. Jesus.
This is just giving Jesus. This is just saying Jesus is waters, Jesus is lamb, Jesus is servant. You're just going to the Old Testament.
Amen. You're right. You got it.
Right. So Jesus is everything, but really nothing.
No, not everything. No, but you have a good list. You got a good start. Start writing those down. He's Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. He is the Devanim. He's also the Laish. Right.
No, here's my point. If you're looking at the Old Testament after it's been written, and you're substituting things, well, hell, Jesus is the flame that lights my way and shit, right? Like this lighter obviously has nothing to do with Jesus. The things in the Old Testament have nothing to do with Jesus until they're forced applied. Did Jesus say that he was a lighter? No. Did he say that he was the waters? No.
He did in the New Testament.
He claims to be
so
water.
Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. So if you look at Isaiah 12, it actually literally says, Jesus, my God. Do you want to make a bet on that? Isaiah 12, look it up.
No,
there's 12 names of God in Isaiah 12.
Yeshua.
Yeshua.
I've read all of this. I swear to you, I've read all of this. And that is a narrow interpretation of the phrasing. The way, the law, the good, the path. Sure. God, it's also an interpretation of the same phrasing.
Can I ask you a question, Sasquatch?
Sure.
What do you think? And it's okay, no matter what you say, I'm not going to be mad at you. And remember, you guys are in control. This is Powder Dusty's show. I want to save an opportunity for next time. But what do you think Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh means? The Old Testament name of God. What do you think it means?
The actual word of creation.
Okay, well, it does. It's actually an abbreviation for a sentence. Of course, we can look at Exodus, 3:1-4 to see the part where Moshe himself says, "Who shall I say has sent me?" You should put Satan's picture back up there, Dusty. It would be a lot less evil.
I got you.
But so, yeah, thanks. But when he asked the Lord God, thank you, who shall I say has sent me? And the Lord God says, you shall say, I am that I am has sent you, right? Yes. And of course, in the modern translation, Sasquatch, you might know that it actually kind of means more or less, when the King James Version is not incorrect, it's just that more accurately, it would be, I will be what I will be, is more accurate to the sense, right?
I am what I have been. I am what I have been.
That's actually also not incorrect. That's also still true. So we could do it three different ways, and every single version is actually correct. Does that make sense?
This is a sectual, not sexual, but sectual difference between Southern Baptist raising and a Messianic Christian raising, and I don't have an issue with it. It's merely a discrepancy in at what point in time people start taking into account the word. I've read an absurd amount of religious writings. I've read an absurd amount, and after I've internalized it, worked it out in my head, and then talked to an awful lot of people online, like you, this very conversation, have parsed out interpretations that seem to be a median of the differences. And the point of waters, the point of like the concept of a void that doesn't actually exist short of Sheol in like the old Judea texts, it's hard to explain void in that language. So when void is brought up, waters often are used as the interpretation. Flow also is used as an interpretation for void.
For God?
It's like, sure.
Or for void?
Okay.
I mean,
there's three different
what
words.
I go by, basically.
There's a bunch of words. You could go Greek. You could go. You could go Latin.
No, we're going to keep it at the high level, though, Sasquatch. Let's keep it in Hebrew. See, there's tohu wabohu. That means without form and void. Then there's the tohom.
I don't actually read Hebrew. Like I read.
Okay, well, no, I just interpretate it. I mean, the Lord shows it to me. I mean, anybody can just kind of like compare and contrast. But the word I think you're looking for is the abyss. The tohom in Hebrew is what the abyss is in Greek. Does that make sense?
I'm speaking of void, bro. Like it doesn't actually translate into the Hebrew.
So I just want to point out that when it says that the earth was without form and it says without form and void. Okay.
I said that wrong. It does not translate out of Hebrew. The Hebrew
Peace, Dynamo. God bless.
Includes a lot of stuff, whereas the English version of void includes nothingness and nothing else. It's not void. It's a lack of being. It's hard to explain.
Right. No, you're correct. No, Squash, you're right. Lack of being is actually an excellent interpretation. That is absolutely correct because the earth did not exist. God is telling us when the earth is tohu wabohu, that means it does not exist. Not that it's empty, not that it's shallow, not that we need to put some stuff on it. No, it's not there. It does not exist. It was all water.
Give us a second.
I just want to point out, Peace Dynamo, God bless that person for saying baptized in water. There's another affiliation. Go ahead.
Do the thing.
Okay, so real quick, just so I could take this down, stop sharing screen. I just want to point this little comment interaction out because it's orthodox. It's actually referring to the profile picture I have up on my thing right now. Orthodox guy says, I think that's the face he gets when somebody is fucking with his money. Katie says, no, that's like staring into the depths of the abyss. This is more playful. And Orthodox says, so would you be saying is when you stare into the abyss stares back? And I said, I am the abyss. Anyways, the point I'm making is that basically I'm God. Anyways, that's
play the Pope clip.
It was absolutely, I'm already on it. It was just an amusing correlation. Thank you, Peace Dynamo, for the $5. Peace Dynamo says, baptized in water, washed in the blood of the Lamb. I appreciate Christians. I appreciate that Christians are, and this is a fact, they are the most generous demographic on, at least that I've run into on YouTube. Christians support the things that they support, which is also how you can know that I'm not just in this for the money, because if I was, I'd be a whole lot more Christian than I am.
Well, that's good that you have the ability to also allow an antithesis, another opinion, because I was expecting that, you might have been a little bit abrasive, because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to being banned from everywhere I go for 12 years. You can probably tell why. But if you have experience and you're confident in yourself, this isn't going to intimidate you, right? This is over the internet, and some of these people live on the internet. So when you crush their lives, they just can't handle it. And not everybody's cut out to have a conversation.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that you're batshit crazy, but I appreciate you coming up. I think you're in good faith. I think that you're pleasant to talk to, and that you're reasonably open-minded.
Well, thanks. And you should definitely think I'm batshit crazy, because either I am batshit crazy or these are miracles happening. So you can only pick one or the other. And that's true. That's you being honest, for one. But I'd like to save some for the future. And I have a couple more videos that I've personally taken that I think you'd want to look at eventually, that are interesting, that are on this topic that no one else will be able to show you. No one's ever done it. So
all right.
I thank you for the time tonight.
Sure. If you want me to drop your channel link for the main chat, then put it backstage and I'll drop it so that people can sew up to you.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, let me see if I can pull that link out real quick. But yeah, my channel's Bud Always Finds Its Level, and I'm the XO of the RO, and you're watching the Powder Dusty. So Baruch Hashem Adonai Elohim. Thanks again for having me.
10-4.
I'll put it in the back chat. All right. God bless you,
right.
man.
Oh shit! Thank you for coming. Thought he was done. Brett Boyle, Canada says, member for 1 month says, I'm a big fan of Revelation 3:9, and then hashtag Free Palestine. I guess I haven't done a atheist reads the Bible thing in a long time. Normally, you got to send in a dono for me to look up and read the Bible verse, but since that's not what I'm doing right now, let's look at what this is. Revelation 3:9 says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, but are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So this is it's basically what you're saying is you're not religious. You just don't like Israel. Chuck, why are you here? Chuck,
I might have bored him out of existence with my questions about a 360 industrial engine.
Well, when I dropped the link, even though I must have pinned it on accident, it was very clearly stated, typed before and after the link, that it was only for one person. So there's always somebody.
Definitely.
I mean, you can bring him up if he shows back up.
He's not backstage anymore. He had a connection issue, I think.
Okay. Let's see. Where are we going? Yeah. All right. Here is. All right. Here's XO's link.
Thank you.
And so. Fake J. So that verse, though, like, there's not a lot of utility with that. That just justifies anybody to condemn anybody who claims to be a J, right? This is my issue with the Bible, like the practical way it's applied, and actually all religion appeals to the narcissist in people, because if we can give ourselves the authority to speak with the authority of God. Right. If we can intellectually digest that for ourselves, then we will. And so saying, well, this is what aligns with God, that gives you the right to do it.
I invited someone in to talk to Homie. Homie's gone. Samuel showed up. Can I bring him up?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you had the link pinned or whatever, because I don't have open.
No, I emailed it to him specifically because I actually occupy a space somewhere between Samuel and what was that last guy's channel's name? I subscribed to him, but I can't remember the name.
XO, I guess.
It's like, I don't remember. Anyway, Samuel,
I don't know what Samuel's perspective is. Spaghetti monster?
Hold on, allow me.
All right.
Samuel is a heathen.
Okay.
Pagan. He is a non-Christian with Christian understandings of reality, in the sense that he is aware of your interpretations of the Christian faith and others.
And how would you describe my perspective if you were to do that?
You are firmly aware of the Christian faith and the Judea faith, not so much the Islamic faith. And you don't really have anything, as far as I'm aware of, as like myth and legend and stuff, like Norse mythology and stuff. I've never heard you mention like fucking Skilba there.
I mean, I find that stuff interesting. I think it's aesthetically appeasing, right? Like, I like that kind of stuff, but it doesn't encompass any part of like my belief system.
There are small parts of it, because my mother, this whole thing started with me saying, my mother was a very unusual woman. And then we ended up here. But the point of that is that I learned a lot of Norse, Celtic, Slavic, European mythology before I learned a lot of the Christian faith. But I was indoctrinated largely into like Lutherans, Southern Baptists. You know those guys who hand around the snakes, those Pentecostals?
Oh, snake handlers, yeah.
I hung around with those folks quite a bit. They're nuts, but they are dedicated, bro. Like, they are faithful. There's no doubt there.
Oh, they believe, all right, yeah.
I mean, there's
let me do this right. Stop. Let me do this right. The powdered dusty. This is Samuel the infamous. This is the powdered dusty. Y'all do the thing y'all do.
Oh, fair enough. You know, we have actually met before on one of Sasquatch's streams, I think, one night when he was very drunk.
I recognize you. I've seen him do your restreams. So
yeah,
I'm
fair enough.
Sure.
So, yeah, no, he's not far off in my case. I suppose godless heathen is probably the most accurate term. I believe in the gods. I just don't worship any of them because I think they're all parasitic liars.
You think that they actually exist as deities and not just as like representations of emotional or mental states?
I think as beings, yeah. I think there's a certain amount of mind over matter in the universe, and I think if enough people believe in a thing for long enough, it comes into some form of being at some point.
I actually hold that exact belief as well. I don't normally get down into the weeds like that because it just is so foreign to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think created us?
I don't know.
So you think gods exist, but they didn't create us and they're parasites?
I think that the gods are part of creation, not the creators.
What is a god?
Simple terms, a being that is several orders higher than us in terms of longevity, power, and conceit. In my opinion, I think a god is a being that can convince other people that he is God. Yeah.
So could we be gods?
I think some people have convinced other people they've become gods, and in certain respects, they have been.
So you're not actually referring to a different organism. You're referring to like held in a different light.
I think in some cases, yeah. I think there probably are. I do believe in the gods. When I say the gods, I mean all of them. Like the 3,000 gods of the Hindus, the 87 or whatever, the Aztecs, the Norse gods, the Greek gods, all the pantheons. I even believe in the Abrahamic God.
Do I look more? Am I more godly like right now with my hat on? Did Jesus die for your sins? I don't know if it's you or me. I cannot hear you anymore. It's wild. And he's gone. Audience, what's going on with my audio? I can't hear anything. Can you hear me? Can you hear him? A 100%. I'm good. Okay. Sam's internet is not reliable. Okay, so right on. That was tripping me out.
Yeah, no, Sam doesn't have internet. He has shitternet.
Qtard with $2 says 100% more godly with the Pope hat on, buddy. All right, I appreciate the feedback. Did I miss something? Maybe I didn't. All right, no, I didn't miss any.
Thank you, Beat. I step away for 2 seconds, things go wrong. Jesus, y'all could have cooked all night. No, dude, YouTube really need.
Sorry about that. They call me the Haunter of the Shitternet for a reason.
Right on. No, it was just tripping me out. I wasn't sure if it was you or it was me, and then I pulled Sasquatch up, but he had chosen that moment to step away. And
it was me.
Thank you for the donation.
I bawled so hard they thought I was a fucking nutsack. I got so much cheese in my pocket, they thought I was a fucking calzone.
So, if I were to successfully convince the 103 people watching right now that I'm God, would I become a god, or is that something else?
I think that's something else, but I think in a certain sense, in their eyes, you would be. At which point, like, I mean, they're the ones observing you as a god. They're referring to you as a god. They believe that you're a god. In their minds, what difference does it make?
Is that what magic is managing someone else's perspective?
I think so. I think most of it's psychology. You know, do you ever read Terry Pratchett by any chance? Discworld?
No, I didn't.
He explains a concept. So he's got these two schools of magic in this. It's a fantasy universe, and the wizards are a bunch of pompous jackasses. The witches tend to be very more practical, and they practice what they call headology, which is essentially psychology. 99% of what they do is just convincing other people that they've pulled off miracles, when in fact they've just done the practical thing.
Can I caveat that?
Caveat away.
Headology is psychology and practical application.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about your thoughts, your feelings, and any of that. It has to do with what you do with the information you have on deck.
Okay. So that sounds like the way the world operates, right? Like that's headology sounds like what I believe magic is, what psychology is, what philosophy is, right? World
You're not wrong. Every bit of what you just said is correct, but also it's religion and dogma and belief and faith
to make it even simpler. It's the human need for ritual.
You see a ritual take place, you believe because that ritual has happened, that reality has occurred, and if enough people believe that, then it has.
Rick Ross, I think, is a wizard. What do you think?
I don't disagree, Sam.
I'm not sure I know who that is.
He's the biggest producer of the 20th century, basically. He's been on everything from Korn to Run DMC and Aerosmith. He looks like Sasquatch, except his beard is bigger. He's never been a musician.
He doesn't create anything. All he does is connect creators and promote them. That's it.
But he's managed to shape the face of music in modern society.
Right. And I view music mostly as, so I like a lot of shitty music. We're going to ICP in a month, and we're going to Primus a month after that. I don't sing along with music anymore because I think that music is a hypnotic mantra.
Where?
Where? Here, Kansas City.
Really? Fuck.
Are you coming up?
I might fly in.
If you fly in, I'll buy your ticket. Which concert?
Bitch, don't fuck with me. I don't want to be on the list of people who bought an ICP concert ticket, but I would like to see one.
All right. If you decide to come up, I'll buy you the ticket. And now I can't hear him, but I can hear you. So, what do you think?
Done deal. Hold on. We'll fly in, come to the fucking concert. Before the concert, we'll do a 20-minute bit. After the concert, 20-minute bit for me. Whatever the fuck you want to do, we can negotiate that shit.
Okay.
We'll negotiate later.
All right. We'll figure this out.
All right. Both of y'all shut the fuck up for a second. God damn it. Go back to cooking like y'all were doing just
saying anything.
I don't care. I'm saying y'all were cooking up so damn good. Y'all had 125 people in chat, and now we're at 102. Do the
Okay, so basically what I was putting together is I think that music is a form of witchcraft. And I think that songs are repetitive mantras, right? You got hypnotic beats, and then you've got mantras. That's why I don't the chorus, right? So I don't, because I think that repetition impacts your subconscious, which really is the driver of your worldview. If you can get somebody to accept something on a subconscious level, even if they don't know that they're absorbing it, they'll start to embody that. So that's why I don't sing along with that. But things like, she fucking hates me, right? Like, what do you think about that?
I think that there's probably some truth to that in a lot of cases, particularly in mass marketed music. You know, the stuff that you see on the radio. You know how they like take Leonard Skinner for example. Leonard Skinner has you know, like a 5-album discography or such. You only ever hear the same 5 songs though, over and over and over and over again, because they want to get those in your head. They want you thinking about those specific songs, right? So I think that there's probably some truth to that, but I think it goes back. It's older than that. Like, you know, obviously, the 20th century kind of changed how we view music and music production and its exposure to music and all that stuff. But you know, I mean, going as far back as, you know, I don't know, as far back as you care to go, there man has always made music as an expression of reality, right? You know, I mean, you think about prehistoric drums, for example.
So what is it that you do with your gods and your faith? What is our relationship to them? Do they matter at all, or is this just?
I mean, personally, what I do mostly, I just flip them a bird and get on with my day.
You don't seem to have been smitten yet.
I'm not. Look, I can believe that something exists without bending my knee to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't believe that any of them are worthy of our worship. I don't think anything's worthy of worship
because they really don't matter.
Not ultimately, no. But ultimately, I don't really think we matter that much either.
What about life after death?
Well, again, like creation, I'm uncertain. I like everybody else out here. I don't know. I don't know for a fact, one way or the other. We're all guessing. I think there probably is something, because I tend to agree with the way Einstein talked about how energy never ceases; it only changes form. So there's probably something, but as to what that something looks like, I got no idea, man.
May I?
You may.
For those of you who have not died, there is something after, at least for a time. I can't speak factually on anything like infinity or forever or any of that silly, unlimited.
Did you start out by saying for those of you who have not died?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you died?
I have not died. Have you died?
Once.
Okay.
The experience was very transitional. And this is one of those things where you and I have had this conversation dozens of times, and I let you go and you let me go because we don't understand what each other is talking about. Big F faith versus little f faith. Right?
Sure. Yeah. And I can't say that I've ever actually grasped what the fuck the difference is that you're talking about.
I get that. No, I totally get that. I totally get it. And this is one of those things where me and Sam have come to kind of log our heads at, because his faith is succinct. He assumes these things exist. He can't prove it. He can't show you. But at the same time, he knows these things and he like exists in that paradigm. At the same time, I have died. I saw things, I experienced things happened, and 9 minutes later, I was back here, and it was a very unfortunate situation that I came back here. And now that I am back here, I'm here telling you this silly shit because I can't prove any of it.
Now, is that why you are the way you are? Did your brain go without oxygen?
You could say that, but you could also say that I have abused drugs and amphetamines and various other substances to the point where I am bent, or that my mother warped me from birth to be a very strange individual, or that I am autistic and notice patterns where they do not exist, or pick your fucking flavor, dude. What do you want?
Yeah, I'd like to address something that I saw in chat just a little bit ago. It said something about, like, you know, some of us do know, and we're born again Christians. Here's the thing. No, you don't. You don't.
You
the fact
do not.
is, here's if you had knowledge, if you knew for sure, it would be knowledge, not faith. Faith requires that you take a leap without necessarily being able to prove it. right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with faith. I absolutely have no problem with you guys believing anything you want to believe, but
Pause.
But you don't know any more than I do.
Pause. Faith. This is an issue. This is a major stumbling block. It's a stumbling block for morals. It's a stumbling block for beliefs. For language, for all kinds of things. It is the crux of misunderstanding between religiosity and the fuzzy wuzzies and pagan assholes who sit over here and tell you it's all bullshit. Pagans. This is a point. Pagans. Atheists, pagans, heathens are the same in one vein. God is either a or an, and not the. Everyone else doesn't even account. They are the land of Nod. When you're talking about the Christian faith, Ortho Bros, this is one of the reasons why I love Ortho Bros in the debate. You always know where they're coming from.
Right. That's a fact.
You're going to have to take the show for a second. I'm tickled.
William Joseph, in this vein, then neither did Jesus.
I mean, what always strikes me as funny is that there's a disconnect.
Wait. That's a point right there. Did you actually die because you survived? Okay, sure. There were 9 minutes in which I was left unattended because I was already dead. The people involved checked me, looked at me, worked me out, decided I was dead, and then went to go call the fucking authorities. The first people that showed up at the location were the coroner and some cops. And I was standing there going, wait, guys, y'all are a little early. I'd really like an ambulance before we get to this point. Now, I'm in a small town, and most of the cops and folks involved knew me and was like, no, you probably played a joke, but no. The reality of the situation is I was riding in a car and I looked at the woman who would become my wife and I said, I really don't feel well. And then I died. She came over, opened the door, pulled on me. I fell out of the car and like scratched my face up real bad. And she freaked out enough that she called an ambulance. And I woke up, if you can believe it, about a minute before the ambulance showed up. Like long enough for me to stand up, walk to the door, because I was left outside on the fucking ground dead. I was dead. Everyone involved had agreed that I was dead, and they went inside and talked about it. And while they were talking about it, I woke up. And I walked over to the door and tried to open it, and it was locked. And I was very confused because I was alone and I didn't know what was going on. And I was very confused. And I was like, and then like this white SUV pulled up and they got out and they were like, hi, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, I've been better. I feel really bad. And they're like, what's going on? And then the cop showed up and then the ambulance showed up and then everyone else showed up like it became a big party. I had a bone spur in my arm that was impinging on a major ventricle, like blood vesicle.
Tube.
Yeah. One of them blood tubes. It was a problem. It was an issue. And apparently I'd pinched it enough to cause clots. It caused a stroke. The stroke killed me. For whatever reason, this is going to sound so fucking dumb. You know what brought me out of the black?
You smelled muffins cooking.
No. It's nothing so simple. The ringing from the fucking car door. Ding. Ding. I I literally came out of death to close the door. Finally. Because I had spent 10,000 years listening to that fucker ding.
That would be terrible. That would bring me back too.
It was horrible. It was so bad. I can't even describe it.
If I ever die, throw me in a place with a BP smoke detector.
Right? You want to go to a black homestead?
Yeah. Exactly. Wait a second.
They're all out of batteries.
Yeah, no, you're racist. Shut up.
Samuel, I don't know if you know this or not, if Sasquatch has told you, but I just recently came out as a foundational Black American.
No, that's news to me.
Yeah. Damn, I lost my train of thought.
Congratulations, I guess.
That's because you're a foundational Black American.
It might be because of the drugs. It might be because my mom raised me to be a weird person. I've never died, I don't think, but I have gotten really drunk a lot of times and then woke up and
You know what's really funny about that? I stood there doing like, this is pre-Sasquatch days, and all of these people showed up, and ostensibly they were there to help me because I was the one that they had called 911 about. When they get there, I'm like, I guess doing something of a show because I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused. I have no idea what's happening. All I know is that like a few seconds ago, I was talking to God. And then I'm here with this dude named Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi. What's your name? Oh, there was no Sasquatch back then. It was just like, here's the thing I can't really describe. The conversation that took place immediately after that weird, I mean, okay, so I wasn't dead. Obviously, I didn't die, right? Like, I'm still here and I'm alive. We're having this conversation and shit. So obviously something other.
Or we all could be dead.
Okay,
I got a friend who believes
I'm just saying, like,
in hell right now. So
A lot of people believe that.
I don't think Georgia is hell, bro. You really need to move. I know where you live sucks. There are other places on the planet.
It only sucks like 9 months out of the year.
Just saying, dude. Like, there are better
people who think that are right. I think that if you think you're in hell, you are probably in hell because that's how you're going to view everything.
Actually, I agree with that. That is 100% true.
Yeah, it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They, if you believe you're in hell, it'll influence how you interact with the world around you, which will make things worse if you have that kind of outlook.
I shouldn't be here.
Now he says that.
Oh, he dropped down. Sorry, I was on a different tab. Right. So, how did you come to your views?
A lot of reading, a lot of life experience, and like I said, I'm not 100% on everything.
Have you ever been to prison?
I have not been to prison. I have been to some places elsewhere, but not prison.
Well, I asked because most people when I hear somebody say the gods, that sounds to me like the people that I know who have that are typically skinheads.
No, I'm not a skinhead by any means.
Yeah, it is. So I didn't know if that was. Those Nordic religions seem to be alive within those sects.
Yeah, they've taken the resurgence of what they're calling the Old Norse religion, what they call a Satru these days, has taken hold in a lot of those kinds of groups. Yeah, it's also taken hold with a lot of like nerds, and like nerd culture and that sort of thing. And the problem with that is that there's no clear definition of anything pertaining to Old Norse religion except what certain Christian monks wrote down, because the Norse were not known for writing shit down, at least not, in terms of like their belief systems and their rituals and all that. They told some stories, but all of those stories in the prose and the poetic Eddas were written down by Christian monks. Right. So anything pertaining to actual religious practices, we have no idea. That was all lost. Right. So they're essentially taking the trappings, the skin, if you will, of what they think Old Norse religion was, and they're applying it to essentially a religion that's only been around for about 50 years.
And that's with pagan is Wiccan as well. All those
Wicca goes back a little bit further, but only to like the late 1800s.
No, Wiccan is not associated with that. It is a totally independent.
They are separate religions, yes.
Druidism, but it is an interpretation of the same Celtic type religion, animism, and all of that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, but there are distinctions between Wicca and that. That's typically the way that people view things when they hear pagan or they hear heathen or whatever. They tend to lump about 100 different religions into one category, a lot of which conflict with each other. So it's kind of a blanket catch-all term. In fact, it's not even a pagan term; it's a Christian term.
Right. Yeah. No, I recognize that. The freak down there. The freak is the one that made the claim that he knows what happens after death, and so the freak. If you would like to come defend that claim, I would like to attack it. If you are not.
I want to be clear. I was not attacking you. I was just disagreeing with you. That's all I was.
No, I don't know. Sam's not here to attack anything. I'm not here to attack anything. I'm merely here to defend.
By attack, I mean stress test.
Oh, sure. Stress it out as far as you want. It'll fail. Experience is one thing. What's the term? Anecdotal is another.
So experience, right. So whatever you experience, right. Like you can tell me that, and I can't incorporate it into my worldview as proof, but I also can't negate it.
The issue is that you have not had that experience. Correct. This is the very defining point of the big F versus little f, faith. There are people who read the Bible and have faith in every word that it says, but have never experienced a faithful experience. They've never seen God, seen an angel, experienced a miracle, or witnessed it upon their own selves. Once you have, you can't deny that something, I am an agnostic. I don't believe I have enough intelligence to consider the Almighty. But if we're going to be doing it anyway, so I get as much of a vote as everybody else.
So the freak says basically his experience was the same as yours, except it had Jesus. So it sounds to me like he's had a personal experience and something happened to him.
I had a conversation
with him.
I don't know. All right. There's a term that I found in anime that I think is applicable here.
Is it Naruto?
I'm not sure. Ulterior being. This is merely a being that is above our status in reality. Twice I've had an experience with this. Once when I had a fucking stroke and went down like a fucking dog. And once while I was on mushrooms, I witnessed something that I would describe as at a distance that I can't explain. On mushrooms, that's not a real big freaking gimme. But as far as like dying, I was dead. I was dead enough that a group of 3 people all checked me and left.
And I would have stuck back and drawn on your face with a Sharpie.
No. See, here's the thing. You say that, and if I was drinking and dying of alcohol poisoning, you're right. But the reality of the fact is that I was riding along and had smoked a joint 9 hours before with the people that were there when I died. So I go down like a sack of salt. They all check my freaking pulse, my vitals, everything. They stand around for a few minutes trying to figure out what to do with the dead body they have in their driveway decide that going inside and calling the cops is probably the best thing. They do that. Between the point in time that they call the cops and the cops show up, I stand up and wander around the car for a minute, wondering why I'm still here. There was a good, okay, I say 9 minutes. 9 minutes was from the point in time that I was left alone to the point in time when other people showed up.
So really, it was longer than 9 minutes.
It might have been longer, but I assume it is shorter.
Why?
I assume because these people love me.
So you said, where did 9 minutes come from?
It is the point in time from when.
Hold on. The freak only. That link is for the freak only. Anybody else will be probably just left backstage.
So before all of this happened, I had a moment, and that moment involved me passing out. I wake up and I'm like, hey, I might need to go to the hospital. And there was some discussion and yada, yada, yada. And we went elsewhere and then was going to take me to the hospital after. We leave and go. And there were 16 minutes at this point. At some point in time in that trip, I glanced at my watch. And from that point until I looked at my watch again after the emergency services had showed up was 9 minutes. In that 9 minutes, I went from riding down the road to being a corpse in a driveway. In that time period, I experienced an observable amount of time. That's not possible to explain. There were experiences that took place. Is this a Jack Talcott moment that I can't explain?
Just praise God, man. Fucking praise God. God is so amazing. The sun, the nature, the earth, water, the way words work, the way knowledge works, the way love feels. God. Praise God, man.
That man needs to be checked with a dipstick. Samuel, I need you to do me a favor.
Yes.
Do things for like 10 seconds.
Okay, what the fuck?
Hi, tell people to give me money.
Yeah, money them, money now. Yeah.
Amen.
Excellent.
I need every bit of money you can bring me. Pay me. All the money, all the banking, all the jobs, all the material things. I love spending money. And all these people here know I love spending all that money.
Dude, I was there when that freaking quote happened. And I remember laughing so hard I cried. And there were other people involved that saw me and I was over there crying because it was so funny and I couldn't explain it. I was like, this guy wants money. And they were like, me too. I was like,
so the funny thing is do you remember who he was talking to? He was talking to that, what's that dude's name? Who goes around panel to panel preaching periodically? Used to be a crackhead.
Was that 363? 343?
No, I don't remember the dude. But anyways, he's been here before. I guess he's been to Flow State before. He might not have been here. He goes panel to panel, and he basically tells people, like, you need to repent or you're going to hell. And he had a vision, and like buzz bands, like it was like circle saws. He said, "Circle."
I had a vision.
Huh?
Complete your thought. I'll complete mine after.
He one time he had a drawing of what it looked like, and it was literally like there was a creek.
No, I remember that. I was here. I saw that
by the river. There was a creek by the there's like a creek, and he had circle saws coming up out of the ground, and they were going to cut you in half. It was amazing. Now that dude, he's the one that Alpera was talking to in that clip, and Alpera was getting pissed off at this dude's like preaching and doomsday warning, and he started talking shit like I don't know. It was in context. He was talking about religion there, but
the quote, if I remember right, well, if you're godly Why do you need the money? And the heckle bus went the fuck off, bro. The heckle bus fucking went both tires.
He said to bring him 30 pieces of silver and all that shit. Yeah, he went off.
I want the 30 talents. Hey, Sam, would you take 30 talents?
I mean, maybe. I barely remember that story.
Hey, we got him. We got the man. Hey, Dusty, you know the freak. Samuel, the freak, D-A freak.
Good. I forgot.
Samuel, he left.
No, he didn't leave. I just forgot to do his intro song. Oops, not that one. Shit, I got rid of it.
Do it right or don't do it at all.
I thought I still had Jesus freak.
All right, hold on. Let me do this right. You're not doing it right. Let me do it right. Hey, the freak, I just want to be perfectly clear. We apologize for not having your intro song, and you should send us money up here. Will you fix all? I'm trying to wait, man.
I mean, I thought I had the DC Talk Jesus Freak song still loaded up, but I don't.
I love that.
Anyways, okay, so one of my critiques against religious people entirely is they claim that they know what happens after we die, and obviously that's a lie for most of them. How do you know what happens? Tell us your story.
Because I had a vision from God, and
were you high? Were you dead? Were you sleeping?
I just got done praying, and he was in total control. He did everything, and I was just kind of there, along for the ride.
Is that why you used the image of Neo stopping the bullets? Because you were just along for the ride and he stopped the bullets?
I think in the Matrix Reloaded, I just really like that part of the movie and how he's able to, dodge all the bullets,
I can accept that. Go ahead.
No, if we went out, if I took you guys outside to look at my Sonata, there's bullet holes in that car from when we were just along. Actually, I was driving. Katie was along for the ride.
Stop it.
Dang.
Right.
Are you out in the rural area, or are you in town?
I don't know why you're doing the retarded hand at me.
I am saying, do not speak about the previous existence of your drug use.
That was either post-ish drug use.
Post-ish.
Rome isn't built in a day.
And neither was my sobriety. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. Exactly. So it was post-ish. Yeah. Anyways, I don't remember where we're at. Okay, the freak. So you prayed and then God gave you a vision. So I can't do anything with
that. I know. It's awful.
Is it possible?
I did give you termination. And I'll be able to look into it, but
hold on. We shared an experience. We both believe that God has given us an experience, whether that experience is reality or the brain dying due to lack of freaking oxygen. I mean, whatever it is, we've had an experience. Can we agree on that point?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. In your experience, did it involve post-life activity?
I would say not necessarily. No.
Okay.
I would say probably.
I was left for dead on the side of the road. They left me. A group of people left me on the freaking sidewalk on a freaking driveway because I was dead.
This isn't a who saw God most.
No, I didn't see God. I never said I did. I said there were existences that I didn't understand. My point is, did you experience God?
Yes, it was
different.
God. I saw God.
Did he tell you anything?
Did he what? I'm sorry.
Did he say anything?
Yeah. Yes, he did. Actually, he was answering my prayer, basically.
Had you prayed to see God?
I was definitely praying to want to see God. Yes.
And
A
then
lot.
so what happened? Okay, so go talk me through it.
Well, basically, it was I had a lot of. I needed to be forgiven for a lot of mistakes in my life, right? And so I was praying for God. I was wanting God. I needed forgiveness. I wanted to see God. I wanted to know it was true.
I'm not going to ask you to tell us the specifics. Was there a specific person or people you had done wrong to, or just generic, not feeling like you've done right?
Both probably. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, so I would always pray a lot. I forced myself to pray. Just God, I need to see you. God, where are you? God, is this real? God, is it all for nothing? Where the hell are you? What's going on? I need forgiveness. I can't live with this. Help me get over this. All that stuff. Everything.
Mm-hmm. What was the circumstances in your life at that time? Like, were you?
I was starting to build back up from some of the crap that I had done.
So you kind of hit bottom, and this was on your rebound.
Yeah, you could say that. I needed something to look forward to. I was going to find God or die trying.
Uh-huh. So, I'm sorry. Go on if there was more. Or I can't tell if you were done or if I interrupted you to ask that question.
I was going to find God or die trying. Basically, I needed a meaning for the life that we were in.
So what did God tell you?
He told me everything would be okay.
And how do you know that was God coming to you and not either? And I'm not trying to say this is a diminutive option. Actually, I think it would be an empowering option if you manifested that, right? How do you know that was external, that came to you instead of being produced by you?
Because I had no control whatsoever. He was in total control. When I'm dreaming, when I'm looking, let's just say, if you're tripping, if you're dreaming, you have some sort of measure of control. I had no control. He was in charge. He was running the whole reality.
Did you see Jesus or God or both?
Both.
I feel like you're.
Hold on, Dusty, before you go. Jesus or God or both. When you're dealing with the trifecta of God itself, it's the same thing.
That's
which
true.
is one of my issues with Christianity, which is why I think
I get that. And that's the only reason I popped up here, is to make the distinction that he's speaking of a personal experience with a feature, and you're speaking of the trifecta of God, the Spirit, the man.
Right. I asked it separately intentionally.
I know, but at the same time, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad.
No, it's fine. I asked, and I mean, I don't know if I was going to call you on it yet. I hadn't decided yet, but anyways.
Hey, can you remove both of our avatars and just look at the background?
Yeah, but they can't hear us.
Hold on, this can be done. Just
Like
give me a second.
That part where it explodes like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's what the Father looks like. That's God Himself, the source of the light, the source of everything, the center of everything. Okay, Jesus was standing in front of me and the Father, and He was shielding me because if the light would have hit me, I would have disintegrated. Okay. And that's how I had the vision like that. Jesus was claiming me for one of his own. He said,
So
this fine, basically.
this is one of the things I can kind of understand. I felt like if I had been rendered to be perceived entirely by the individual before me, it would have been a problem. But because they didn't consider me that much, it wasn't an issue. It was like, oh, you once existed and you might again, but okay. And they went on with what they were doing.
You mean like in the vision or after near-death experience?
While I was dead.
If who had noticed you?
Something else.
Okay. Because that's actually kind of a common feature of near-death experiences is when is people encountering other entities or whatever that are kind of like surprised that they're like, what the fuck are you doing here?
But it's not the only other entity I've encountered.
So that would be my question then. How do you know that this God who presented himself to you, how do you know that he is who he says he is?
The God.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, sorry, I'll let you answer.
Because once I realized that it was him, I felt the love of God, and that is something nothing else could produce.
I mean, drugs can.
No,
not
sir.
Like this.
I've been on a lot of drugs. I will stand right here and tell you that no amount of drugs will give you the love of God.
What if it's Allah?
Right.
Even Allah. I've done a lot of drugs, bro.
No. Right. I'm pointing out though that like God is ambiguous enough and broad enough that it could fit a lot of different religions.
Sorry, you're doing this wrong. You're saying God. You mean gods.
No, I meant God.
No, because you say God, but if God's not that which I experienced and the freak experienced and you experienced and Samuel experienced, then it is one of the gods.
So I meant what I asked. God,
I hear what you're saying. I do understand.
God is big enough that description can fit a lot of different religions, right? So
Sure.
Is there anything about if I just grant you that it was God, and I'll bring you back up in a second, if I could just grant that it's God, how do you know it's this God?
Because I felt the love of God, and it was tied to Jesus Christ.
How do you know?
Because they were there, and I felt the love of God.
Well, see, that's where I get hung up on it, man. Is that if take God as take it as a given that there's a plurality of them, and the reason that I say this is because even the Christian God never said there weren't other gods, not once. Right. If he is not the only one, if
true?
he is all powerful, then why could another not show up and say, hey, I'm him, and make him feel that he's him?
Only God can produce the love of God.
Hold on, freak. Dusty. God, in all of his scriptures and everything that he writes, mentions that he is the one and only, while at the same time admitting there are things outside. Those things outside are the things that Sam is mentioning.
Specifically, what he said, Sasquatch, was, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He doesn't say there aren't other gods. He never denies their existence. He just says, I am first. I come first. Never take my name in vain. Never bow before their graven images. I am your God.
That actually, okay.
Right? Yeah, like argue with it all you want. You'll come to nothing.
Yeah, everything is under the authority of Jesus Christ. Yes.
But Jesus Christ is God, and the trifecta of power. So anything that occurs beneath that trifecta is God and self-explanatory.
So I think that what I'm the perspective I'm drawing based on, well, mostly about the freaks experience because it's more defined, is that the definition is added after the fact or external the experience, right?